Every day, Frank's routine starts with feeding his animals. His pets, the cat Dotje and the chickens, Tick, Tock, Tok Tok, Tek, and the rooster, Red Rooster, eagerly await him as he steps into his garden. The chickens, 3 beautiful Barnevelders and 2 of an unremembered breed, cluck and peck merrily as he scatters feed across their usual feeding spot. Dotje, a Persian cat, patiently waits on the veranda, grooming herself with a calm assurance. She knows her turn will come. Frank never forgets her. Frank lives in a caravan, nestled amongst a lush garden, which he rents from his friend Tinus. Surrounded by 10-meter-high conifers, the garden is a haven of tranquility, save for a sunlit sitting area and a patch where he grows his own vegetables. The caravan is not overly large, but it provides enough space for Frank. It houses a modest living room, which appears larger due to a built-in bay window, providing ample space for his computer and stereo system. Despite the looming threat of the Maas River, known for its rising water levels that can cause significant flooding, Frank finds contentment in his humble abode, fondly referring to it as Miami on the Maas. He relishes the simple pleasure of watching his chickens peck and cluck as he works on his computer, basking in the fresh air that was a stark contrast to his previous dwelling, a flat next to a busy highway in Hertogenbosch. His thoughts occasionally drift back to the challenging months he faced, grappling with personal issues. He realized that he was responsible for his own actions. Throughout these trying times, there was Suzanne, a vibrant woman he met through Tinus. She was always well-groomed, and when complimented, she would respond in her unmistakable Gelderse accent, "Anything nature doesn't provide, I get from my powder box." Frank's life is a testament to the beauty of simplicity. His days are filled with the warmth of his pets, the satisfaction of his work, and the companionship of Suzanne. His journey is a reminder that contentment often lies in the simplest of things: a crowing rooster, a purring cat, and a garden filled with life. Despite the challenges he faced, he found solace in his rustic abode, his pets, and the companionship of Suzanne. His life is a tribute to the simple pleasures that bring us the most joy.
On a quiet night, Frank found himself in the throes of a vivid dream. Nestled next to a breathtaking woman, he traced the contours of her body with a gentle touch, likening her skin to satin sheets. As he explored her form, his hand began to radiate a warmth that spread throughout his body, a sensation akin to a soft shiver of pleasure. However, this sweet reverie was abruptly shattered by the sharp meow of his cat, Dotje, bringing him back to reality. Meanwhile, Tom found himself increasingly consumed by his work, yet couldn't ignore the growing chasm between the autochthonous and allochthonous populations. Raised in a Catholic household, he was no stranger to the pervasive influence of religion. He couldn't help but notice the striking similarities between the dogmatic restrictions imposed by both the Catholic Church and the Taliban. In the 50s and 60s, the Church's prohibitions on seemingly innocuous activities such as Sunday football and watching television kept its followers in check, much like the Taliban's draconian laws. Tom mused on how many opportunities for intellectual and physical enrichment were lost to these restrictive beliefs. The separation of church and state was a hard-won battle, with the animosity between Protestants and Catholics mirroring the current strife in the Middle East and the tension between the Islamic world and the Free West. But why sustain this image of conflict? The common argument that a political balance is necessary in the world rings hollow. Such a balance is unattainable, as the scales will always tip in favor of the most aggressive party. Instead, shouldn't we strive for a world where we acknowledge that the earth belongs to all of us? By working together towards a better world, the scales might finally find their equilibrium. As March drew to a close, Tom could feel the arrival of spring in the air. The changing seasons brought with them a sense of hope and renewal. In this narrative, we've explored the idea that today's religious conflicts echo those from our own past. From the Catholic Church's restrictive dogmas in the mid-20th century to the present-day struggles between different cultural groups, history appears to be repeating itself. It's a reminder that in striving for a better future, we must first understand and learn from our past.
Ever wonder why a game can hold millions of people in its thrall, transforming them into ardent followers, if not downright addicts? Imagine the game of World of Warcraft, captivating adults and children alike in its virtual universe. Picture this. Not in the confines of a dimly lit room, but in the expansive greens of a golf course, under the open sky. Yes, you heard it right, a golf course. Meet Tom and Frank, two friends reconnecting after a time apart. Frank, a local celebrity in his own right, has been busy, but he's cleared his schedule to spend a day with his old friend. His popular show, Game Over, has been handed over to a couple of upstarts, Frank and Arnoucha, who've done well in making it a hit among the younger crowd. Our story takes us to a golf course in Kerkdriel, known as De Dorfaard. It's a challenging course nestled by a dead branch of the Maas, known as Het Gat van Sintje. The terrain is hilly, surrounded by trees, with 9 holes that test your mental fortitude right from the start. The clubhouse, a marvel built on stilts to counter the often extreme water levels, offers a vantage point to witness both golfing mishaps and expert plays. The driving range, right by the water, even makes practicing fun, helping players conquer their fear of water. Across the water, one can see the outlines of the village of Alem, a former free state, splendidly isolated on a peninsula. The only way in or out is a single road, or by water. The locals are hard-working, friendly people, many of whom are musicians in the band Tom plays in. Alem is a village that loves its music, hosting the annual pop concert, Alem Pop, a roaring success that has outshone the Kopop Festival in neighboring Kerkdriel. Music like sports brings people together, muses Tom as he parks his car by the camping site Mazicht. So, what do we have in common here? Whether it's the virtual world of a game like World of Warcraft, the camaraderie of a band, or the solitude of a golf course, it's about the human connection. It's about shared experiences, passions, and the bonds they forge. It's about the resilience of the human spirit, the drive to overcome challenges, and the joy of shared triumphs. It's about friendship and the ties that bind us in the tapestry of life. That, dear listeners, is the essence of our story today. In the world of golf, there are people like Tom, whose love for the sport is as deep as his respect for quality equipment. Every morning he would swap his everyday shoes for his prized pair of Van Bommel golf shoes, white with a blue stripe. They weren't the most expensive brand, but they were genuine, crafted to the specifications of Dutch tradition, a necessity for Tom, given his broad, flat feet and high arches. Unlike his idol Tiger Woods, Tom was not a golfing superstar, but he held the same reverence for perfection and technique. He believed sports brought people together, a sentiment mirrored in his routine of strapping his golf bag onto his cart, a nod to the old adage that convenience serves mankind. Strolling toward the clubhouse, Frank, a fellow golf enthusiast, waved to Tom, promising to order coffee while he waited. Tom, after donning his gloves, joined his friend in the clubhouse, his anticipation for the upcoming round heightened by the cozy atmosphere. Frank and Tom's conversation was casual yet enlightening. Tom noticed his friend had lost weight and looked healthier. The two shared a laugh, their camaraderie infectious. Frank's remarks about the increasing interest in local affairs over global issues struck a chord with Tom. The idea of people being overwhelmed by the world's problems while their own local issues piled up was indeed intriguing. Frank's sentiment that governments should do more for their people instead of spending on armies resonated with Tom. This cycle of conquest, disaster, and aid, only for the process to repeat, was a disturbing image. Tom felt the need to note this down for further contemplation. The conversation took an interesting turn when Frank mentioned the trial of Frans van Anrat. The court had sentenced him to 15 years in prison for supplying chemical materials to former dictator Saddam Hussein. These materials were used to produce mustard gas, which Saddam used against his own people. He was convicted for the supply but not found complicit in genocide, as he couldn't have known this when he started the deliveries in the early 80s. This coincided with the period when the Americans still had significant influence in Iraq, with the support of their former proxy Saddam Hussein. Through this conversation, Tom and Frank highlighted the importance of local issues, the responsibility of governments, and the complexities of global affairs. Their discussion served as a reminder that while sports, like golf, can bring people together, it's the conversations and shared perspectives that truly connect us.